Jennifer. Welcome to the Heal with Cat podcast.
I'm so happy to be back.
You're back. The last time you were here was September?
Yeah,
August?
feels like a lifetime ago.
I mean, we catch up anyways, like I feel like monthly, but to have such a big, like meaningful conversation, it's been like, I don't know, it's been like on the podcast, it's been since September. I am so
Yeah.
grateful that you like last minute wanted to come on the podcast. I love having my friends on the podcast. It just feels like a fun way to hang. But you have so much wisdom of certain things that I'm really curious about at this chapter in my life around community. And I thought, who better to talk to about community than you because you are the fairy godmother of building community. And I'm so excited for my community to hear all about you.
Yay. Yeah, it's something I'm really passionate about, and it's just been coming up more and more. So I'm excited to just explore what that looks like and help give people kind of direction and tips if they're looking to build their own, because it's really needed right now and people are craving it. So I'm excited.
Well, speaking of community, you are in Bali for the foreseeable future. And I know today we're going to talk a lot about online community, but what's it been like for you creating in-person community in a new country, kind of on your own? I mean, like, what's the whole experience been like for you?
Yeah, it's so interesting because it is such a different landscape. And I think we can do all the things online. We can educate ourselves. We can take the courses, and then when you're thrown out into the real world by yourself, like solo travel, if anyone's interested in that, it is a whole nother course of life. It's stretchy, but I love it. I thrive off of it. And, I believe in divine connections, and I believe that we are guided to the people that we're meant to interact with, have conversations with, and it's all on purpose. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that, we sit down next to someone, and if we feel the nudge to start a conversation with them, it could be for both of us, it could be for them to receive something, or vice versa. And it's just another clue, piece of the puzzle on your path. And so I love it. Bali is such a great place for that because people are, I would say, more open to meeting people. So it does feel a bit easier. I could go out today and meet 5 different people if I wanted to, whereas living in LA sometimes, or the US or different parts of the world, I feel like people want to stick in their own, their own energy, their own bubble. They're on the path and they're not really seeking that. And so it's been fun, I think, for me to even experiment too with like going up to people and feeling a bit out of my comfort zone and be like, hey, now I'm going to sit down with you and start a conversation. So it's like a good practice. And yeah, I love it. It's been really fun.
We talked about this the last time that you and I just caught up together, and you were saying that Bali has such different energy, like not just with from the US, especially with where the US is energetically right now. But for me, I've never been to Bali before. I've never experienced it. So tell us like what it's like. How would you describe its differences from, most of the listeners are in the US. So what are the differences between what you're experiencing here versus there?
It's just attracting a certain type of person, a person who is open minded, who is, I think, seeking. So it attracts a lot of people who are in transition. So you see a lot of people, it's like the eat, pray, love story, right? They've gone through a big life change, a breakup, a career change, you name it. Everyone's kind of in there. Yeah, they're like within this transformation that's happening. And I think what I've seen, because I've also hosted retreats here, is that Bali, there's something about it where it catapults you into the next chapter. And so people will come in and they're feeling that they're ready for it, but they're not exactly sure the next steps, or they don't have the full clear vision. And there's something about the energy of this place that it drops in. You like anything that you are not meant to be holding on to anymore becomes very clear very fast. And then the pieces of what's coming next start to come through. And so it's a space of inspiration and creativity. And so there's so many like digital nomads here, there's spiritual seekers, and it's just this melting pot of people who are creating a life that is calling them, and they're answering that and they're walking towards it. And so, that's everything that I teach and I love. And so being around people who get it in person is like really incredible. I don't think it's somewhere I am going to be here for a few more months, but I don't think it's somewhere that you need or necessarily it feels almost like once you get the inspiration, it's like it's then go integrate it, you know? It's kind of like a Neverland vibe here if you stay too long. But yeah, that's kind of what I've experienced in the past 5 years that I've come.
I have only been called to go to Bali once in my life, and I've never heard anybody explain it the way that you just did. But now, reflecting on when I was called to go to Bali, it was a time in my life when I was single and I was looking for exactly that. I was looking for transformation, change. I was seeking myself. I was in very like discovery mode. And now, it's interesting. Like I have no desire to go there, even though I heard it's like this beautiful place. And I'm like, yeah, just I don't know, it's like not calling to me. Like, and to just notice that shift in how we can be called to go to certain energetic places and to really learn how to tune into that. There's so much magic in that. And I will say it as well that it took me 2 years to understand the energy of Colorado and the energy of the mountains
Mm.
because I have been near the ocean my whole life. And now when I drive near the mountains, I feel at home for the first time in 2 years. And I finally understand what the energy of this area is calling me into. But it took me 2 years to get aligned with that energy, which is a long time because I fought it. And so, yeah, I'm kind of reflecting on like, wow, it is so interesting to notice when we feel called to go to certain places and what chapters we're in our lives when we get that call.
Yeah, every place I believe has like its own purpose for you. And so that's why it's also so important to like listen to those callings, you know? And even if it doesn't make sense, like right now I'm here and I know you've been kind of going back and forth like where you're going to live. And it could be because there's people there that you're meant to meet, or there's still lessons you're meant to learn. But yeah, just living nomadically too for the past almost 4 years now. It's like I've learned you listen to where you're meant to be. It's beautiful what happens. You don't always want to be there, but you're meant to. So yeah.
We talked about that on the last episode that you came on to. We talked a lot about God. We talked a lot about trusting God and trusting God's vision for us in our lives and how to connect with Him or her, however you want to address God. But there's so much magic in that. What have you learned from, September of last year, living this nomadic life to now listening and having a deeper relationship with God? Like, where have you grown and where are you still being challenged?
Gosh. Yeah, I mean, you know that similarly to you, it's like we can see pieces of visions of what's coming. And as much as we can see, I'm learning, I don't know anything. It's like God will give you a piece of the vision, and that is meant to be, a guiding light and a north node for you. And I think it's also a point of encouragement of like, this is what's to come. What I'm learning right now is it's not a means for you to hyperfixate on or try to figure out the how or even try to figure out, the timeline of it. Because I think for anyone that's listening who is also maybe resonates with being like a visionary or you feel or sense into what's coming, it's such a gift. But I also think it can hinder you in ways because you're expecting things to happen. Oh, you're like, oh, that's going to happen next month. And it's like, no, this is like 3 years from now. you know? And
Humbled.
I think that yeah, humbled. Oh my gosh. I feel like that can create disappointment or confusion. You can like second guess your vision. And so I'm learning that so much right now because things I thought would have happened by now and the way that it's happened, it's like, you never know. We
There's
never
also
know. It's like a laugh in the face. Like you think you know what I'm going to do? Like, absolutely not.
There's
Yeah.
also so much free will involved in life as like I know working as an intuitive for so long, like the last 4, almost 5 years, there have been things that have come through in readings for myself and for other people that have been clear as day. And then they make or I make one decision and it does domino effect. It changes the course of things. And I do believe that we end up being where we need to be at the end of the day. Like that's not a it's not a comment to like enhance the hyperfixation by any means, but like it is so interesting to notice that component of things too. Like there's so many things outside of our control that other people have around their own free will and choices that we're just like sometimes we have to surrender and like I'm not in control here at all. And like you said, God laughs like, oh, another lesson.
Right. And also the ways that other people are attached to it. So if you make a decision or maybe they make a decision, it might kind of shift the way that things are going to shake out. At the end of the day, though, it's like, yeah, don't overthink it. It's going to happen. God will always make it happen because that's the plan. But it's just the way you're just on the journey. You just got to stay present and use it as a guide. And that's it, you know?
I swear, when I have my life review one day, my guides are going to look at me and be like, did you really have to make that harder than it really was? And I'm going to be like, you have no idea. You have no
Right.
idea.
Yeah.
So, when we chatted back in October, you were just in the beginnings of launching Guided, which is your online membership community. And that was a huge reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast as well this week, because in my eyes, you are one of those human beings that I admire so much. These are qualities that I am learning to have, and I'm inspired by you. You are a community builder, you are a connector of people. I swear so many times you'll be like, you need to meet this person. And I meet them and I'm like, I totally needed to meet this person and I didn't even realize it. Or just people you've connected me with or how you connect others. It's so divine and it's so intuitive. Like, have you always been that way? Like, for somebody who's listening, who's like me, who prefers to be like an introverted hermit and just like, work on things here and there and like just kind of be quiet with life. Like how do we, what are the values that you have around all of this? I know that's like 8 questions in one, but
First question, I don't know that I've always had like the connection, being able to connect people gift. I think that's come with time of just also like meeting people and just like I'm living here, like getting out of my comfort zone and always being able to like observe. I feel like I'm constantly, that's kind of one of my gifts. I'm able to see what people need to move forward. And so that allows me to see, like, okay, who do I know that can help them do that? And I love that so much. I think that what has led to that, though, is I've always been someone who gathers people. And that's been, in my friend group. I'm even thinking about, like college, the way that I would like create these themed events. Like, I always have loved gathering people and putting a lot of intention into it and detail. And, my sister's an event planner, so maybe it runs in our family for sure, but it's always been around these common themes. And I've built, this is my third community now. And it's always around something that I'm so passionate about. But the big piece of it is something that I feel like I didn't have when I was going through like a portion of my life. So I built, a mental health community because I felt like I didn't have that when I was moving through anxiety and all of these things. And then I built a spiritual manifestation community because I selfishly was like, I want a place where we can chat about like all the cool things that are happening. And then similarly with Guided, I started to observe just through all my conversations with women like you who are incredible at what you do. You're building your own thing. And I've seen just through my work, hundreds of women who have these incredible gifts, but we're all building it by ourselves. And I experienced that as well. The past 10 years of just building different brands and ideas and doing it by myself. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, why are we all doing this on our own? Trying to sell and market and create, doing it all in our own strength and without the support of women. Yeah, it's always been to like fill a gap. So I think for me, it's like that always looking through that lens of like observation. I think that's just who I am. I'm like, I love noticing patterns and trends and seeing the potential in people. And maybe that's the gift that God has given me is like those eyes to see those things. But I think that everyone, I don't think everyone wants to build a community, but if you have the desire for it, that alone to me is like that you have a call to do that in your own unique way. So if that's you, yeah, we can share like some little tips and things to get started today. But I do know that there's such a need for it and it's shifting. The landscape is shifting a lot right now around it.
Well, I also think that there's a component of community that's very shallow when it comes to social media. And I'll admit, for the first few years of me having my business, there was such an emphasis on followers, like get the followers because that gives you credibility and then people take you seriously and then maybe people will book with you. And then, like, that was a huge emphasis. And I know for me in the last couple of years, maybe the last year and a half, I would say, like, I care less and less about any of that. I care more about having people who are truly engaged and people who feel integrated into the energy of the community that I'm building, which is actually why I love TikTok so much, because people actually comment on there and they actually
Yeah.
have conversations. I just think that there's so much power when you have intention around the community that you're building rather than focusing on the shallow aspects of how many people can follow me, which I don't hate on anyone who has a bunch of followers. Like, good for you. Like, you, that comes with time, that comes with consistency, and that comes with getting your face out there. But that's not like the end all be all for success when it comes to community. And I think we're ingrained into that, just being a very social forward generation.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say about that. I think a big reason why there's such a desire for true community and a need for it is because the way that that word has changed, definition has changed because of social media platforms, also because of the coaching industry and how they've changed that word as well, which we can talk about that.
Yes.
But yeah, when you look at social media, it's like it's not community, right? Even in the way that you have a follower. That to me alone is that's not community. Community is peer to peer, shoulder to shoulder. You are building something together. Social media is you are building your own platform and it's your ideas, your content, your message, and people are following along. And yes, you could say they're contributing because maybe they're answering your polls or they're coming into your DMs, but they're not creating the content with you. You know, it's not their thing that they're building. To me, community is building something together. And so people want that. They want to be a part of something. And I think that people are realizing more and more and seeing how kind of unfulfilling social can be on both ends. And I think there's like a reclamation of that word coming forward. And I do see, which we can talk about like later or whatever, but I do see like more and more people leaving Instagram. And I think that's going to be the trend. I just see like a mass exit for people, especially those who are truly creative and intentional and heart led. Like it's not there anymore. And you can feel it even in the way that people are on your page, zombie scrolling, no one's engaging, people are bitter. It's like you can feel the heaviness and the density when you open that up.
Yeah, and it's a confusing space to be in as a business owner because on Instagram specifically, there's so many tools for expansion on that platform with when it comes to ads. And I have ads on Instagram for my cycle breaker quiz, and it's great because people are taking the quiz and they're joining the newsletter. And there's a long-term goal with having a larger newsletter for when I have a big creative project that's going to come out in hopefully a year or so. There's the positive side, but then also the shadow side is that you put a dollar amount on a follower. People don't realize, like when I worked in the wine industry and I worked in social media, I was asked to perform and create content that would then attract a certain kind of engagement where I could then measure that each follower that we had was worth a certain amount of money. And I understand the pros and the cons of that, but what it does is it breeds this depersonalization on the app, and no wonder people are on there willy-nilly saying anything that they want and doing whatever they want and posting whatever they want, because what it really brings up to me is that, and I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but I promise I'll come full circle with this for the listener and for you. people are so desperate for belonging and they have no clue where to get connection from. And so social media is like the first place that they go. And I really would love to hear where you think people are going to go for that belonging and for that connection, if it's not on something like Instagram or even TikTok. And I would love to hear more about the energetic shifts that you're noticing as well when it comes to that.
I think people, I mean, what I would recommend for people, especially business owners, is to start building and bringing your community off of social media. So whether that is starting, a WhatsApp group, it could be as simple as that. It could be a Facebook group. It could be, I'm using a platform called Circle for guided. There's so many platforms now, but a space where you actually, if something were to shut down, for example, we've seen that with TikTok, you could lose all connection to those people, right? And on top of that, you want to be in a space where you actually can own the room and you can own what's happening there. And there's no distractions, right? It's like so much more intentional when people have to actually log in and be in your space or come into the chat and there's not a million other things happening at the same time. And, why I'm saying that is because I do see a shift coming with social media. I see it becoming more dense. I see it becoming, look at the state of the world right now, the state of the US, the more people are talking about those things, even on social, the heavier it becomes. And so people want to leave right now, but they don't know where to go. And, leaders in this space, business owners, you're not just a business owner. You are creating a movement around whatever it is that you feel called to share your expertise. And this isn't everybody, but I know if you're listening to this, that is you because you are heart driven. You have a passion, you have a story. And whether you want to have a business around that or not actually doesn't matter. You could just start a little community for yourself around whatever it is you're excited about right now. And it's like, I'm so lit up about this because I'm like, it is actually like our duty to create these spaces for people. People need it. They need support. They need real, genuine connection. And again, if you have a desire for that, you are the one that is meant to start it. And there's people attached to it who are waiting for those doors to open and those spaces to be created because they don't know where to go right now.
Yeah, if you think about our generation as millennials, I was born in 91. The surge of how in our face technology has become in terms of integrating into our lives just in the last 30 years alone, it really does kind of scare me and shock me, but also does not surprise me that so many of us are like, I can't do this anymore. I need to go back to the nostalgia a little bit. Like it's too much. And so, but then you look at my cousin's kids, they were raised on technology. It's like they've been on it their whole lives. It's like all that they know. And who's to say that maybe when they turn 30, maybe they will get to the same place as us. But just from my perspective, just to understand, we got a little bit of what that in-person human connection felt like in our early years. And I think that that's really special, something that I personally hold on to because I think that we can then carry that into the next generations. It's crazy. I have never in my life thought about the idea of homeschooling. And in the last year, I'm totally going to homeschool my kids. Like maybe they'll go to like a co-op where it's like some days they'll go into a classroom. But like I'm sitting here thinking like there's no way I feel comfortable like sending my kids to school every single day where they're just like, I was also having this random thought today too, which I'm just going to like randomly share. We're kind of going like on a tangent, but I was thinking to myself, I wonder if so many kids have behavioral issues because they're separated from their parents for like 6 or 7 hours a day. So when they come home, they're like leeching for attention or like looking for like that desperation of like, and they're not getting it. And so no wonder they like check out. Whereas like I wonder if homeschooling is like they're getting this like consistency that they wouldn't be getting if they're at school. And then also there's like mommy's going to have quiet time and you're going to have quiet time. I just wonder if there's something with that as well. I'm totally getting off on a tangent, but
Absolutely. I mean, I think it all comes back to the way that we used to grow in community. Like if you think of like tribal community, right? The way that kids family were raised. you're not sending your kids off to someone else. Everyone in the community has a role. Everyone's contributing. You're all building together. You're helping each other out. Like communal living is coming back. I can feel
Yeah.
that too. I've seen that everywhere, which is
Yeah.
amazing. And it's like, it's so funny because it's not a new thing. It's just we've swung so far in the opposite direction. And now people are like, get me back to the real thing. And none of us have actually experienced that in our own lives. But I think it feels new to us, but actually, that's how it was for thousands of years. And technology just kind of, we think that technology is connecting us, but it's actually separating us from each other in such big ways.
That's what my whole hesitation around AI was. Now I love using ChatGPT for my business because I think there's a lot of cool ideas that I like can riff off of. But in terms of yeah, the community aspect, I mean, it's just killing the idea of community. A long time ago, I saw this TikTok video of this EMT who said she was saying that she had to take a young girl who was like about 14 to a 5150 hold at the hospital. And when she was getting transported to the hospital, she told this EMT, the only person I have to talk to is ChatGPT. And I was like, this is like debilitatingly sad. What are the values that are foundational when it comes to building a meaningful, authentic community that isn't rooted in what people can do for each other, but something more relational than transactional? Hey everyone, it's Kat from the podcast with a little break in today's episode to share with you a really exciting offering I have called the Age Mapping 3-Day Mini Course. In just 3 days, we'll uncover the stories hidden in your family's past. By mapping the ages of key moments of trauma within your lineage, you'll begin to see how those moments could still be influencing your life today at those same ages. On day 1, you'll experience my powerful ancestral subconscious meditation. On day 2, we'll dive into the age mapping exercise. And lastly, on day 3, you'll geek out with me on the topic of epigenetics, which can explain the way that trauma is passed down generation after generation. The entire workshop is only $35. Are you ready to dive into your ancestral stories and heal for good? Go to catdow.com/agemap or visit the link in the show notes below. Your transformation starts with understanding your past right now.
Well, I think the foundation gets built on the person that begins it. So the person that is starting it needs to, if that's you, needs to understand that you will take on that position of a leader in a sense, but it's your intention, right? That's going to then, the only word I can think of is like bleed out into the community. It starts with you and the intention behind it. So if your heart is not in it for genuine connection, and that's what we've seen in the coaching industry, is people are starting these memberships, these communities. Everyone has a community, and the intention is passive income. The intention is, monetary gain, and oh yeah, people can chat and hear and whatnot on the side. And that is not community. And so if that's your intention for starting one, just stay on social media. There's no point. But I think it starts with that foundation of like, what is the common thread, the common value, intention that everyone in this group has? It has to be built on that foundation. And then the next piece of that is transparency and integrity. And that comes from everyone in the group, yes, but mostly the person that, again, is leading it. And so through every community that I've built, I've been so open about the intention that I have for it. I've been open about the stage that I'm in with it, the fact that I need support. I'm honest when I want to change what's happening in the group. And having that has just built this like mutual respect and support that happens in the community. And I think that's vital because when you think of any sort of leader, if they're not embodying that, then what happens in that space is going to be very limited. And again, it's this peer to peer. Like, so for me, it's like looking at how can I build something that is almost an ecosystem where you might, as the leader and the visionary for that community, be spearheading it, but then you have to actually allow the community to do what it's meant to do. And that cannot come from you. It comes from the people that come into the doors. And so again, I think that's hard for people to let go of control. People want it to be maybe their own thing. There's like an ego attached to it. The community will not grow and thrive if that's the case. And so for me, when I build these communities, I think they've been successful because it is a need that I have. And so I'm like, I'm building this because I can see the vision for it, but I also want it. I want to collaborate with people. I want to like have mentorship and amazing connections and conversations. I need support in what I'm building. And so you have to be just as open to receiving as you are in, leading and giving in the community. And how can you notice, like with every person that comes into guided, we're not like fully monetized yet, but not, that will be a goal eventually. But for me, it was never about that. I was like, I just want to create a space where as many people can come in and like build together. But I'm starting to notice every person that comes in, if we start to grow, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to hire that person to do this. And they're going to then lead this part of like the community. And it's so amazing to see, like, truly you're building your own ecosystem tribe where I can't wait to like elevate the people who are just as invested in this community as I am. And so it's also creating opportunities for people to step into those roles. Like, I don't want to be the leader. I like being the visionary, but I want other people with me building. It's truly what community is. And so I think those are the big pieces. It's like the integrity, transparency, the intention, and then I guess you could say equality. But to me, it's like that peer to peer, shoulder to shoulder environment that you can create for people. And then another little extra piece that I will say is why certain communities thrive and others don't is like creating that community culture. And it's like those little details and things that make people feel like they're a part of something, right? So it could be like certain language that you're using, like you have little terms for things, or yeah, just making people feel like they are a part of something that they're creating with you. And that again comes from the people that come inside. Like a lot of what has happened in my last community, for example, like we used to talk about magical shit all the time. It was like our coined term, and it was like the synchronicities and the magic that would happen on your spiritual path. And that phrase like started to come out of the community, right? And that didn't happen through me. It was someone who coined it as that. And so it's so incredible when you can be in that space and open up to receiving. I think there's, on top of all of this, as women, it's like, how can we start to actually break down the barriers of competition and, yeah, the sister wound that has like been happening throughout, I think, I don't know, the millennial generation, and how can we start to see each other in our individual gifts and start to create things together. So it's a long-winded answer, but I felt called to share all of those things.
I love it. I love it. You're expanding me, and I hope the listeners, so much on what community truly is. And you've said it so beautifully. When it comes to the sister wound, I just had a woman on my podcast. Her name was Susan Shapiro Barash. She came on to talk about estranged friendships. And she said that one of the root causes of why women are in such competition with each other is because as women, we feel there's never enough for us. And so we have to put each other down in order to even get a sliver of what men are promised in our society, And it's just such an interesting and true perspective on the whole thing. And I really walked away from that conversation with her just kind of sitting with that. Like, what if we were raised to know that there was enough for everyone and that every single person in their own unique gifts and their own unique soul purpose had a reason for being here? And I always think about this one thing I heard, like, I can't be the only family constellation therapy facilitator in the planet, because then the work wouldn't meet people and then the transformation wouldn't, and I can't serve 8 billion people. So we need people, and everyone gets to do it differently. And I just think that when I heard that, I thought, okay, there's enough for me in this world. there can be enough for everybody. But I do think sometimes it's rooted back to even some of our childhood beliefs around like there's not enough for you or favoritism. But I also think a huge part of it is also performance-based love. I think there's so many of women, because we don't feel like there's enough for us, then we kind of go into this masculine energy of like, if there's not enough, then I have to do what everyone else is doing. And that means hustle and perform. And then I'll get the attention that I need. And that way I'll be powerful and other women won't be. And I just think it's so sad. Like, I really hope that through women like you and hopefully me, I'm trying to build a community, that there can be communities of women and men where everyone feels that there is enough for them and that we don't have to put each other down just to get our voices heard.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think we can all relate to, and I think there's a lot of like shame. I know a few years ago I was experiencing as I was building my business and things weren't happening in the way that I wanted to. I started to notice like this competition more and more show up and the jealousy. And I was so ashamed of feeling that. It was almost like I was like, you could see that you're separate from it, but you were still feeling it. And I was like, why am I feeling this towards a friend that I love?
Yeah.
And it's so common. And I think the more that we talk about it, the more people can break it, you know, and the more that we get ourselves in these spaces, the more that we're able to see that there actually is so much more abundance when we help each other and we support each other. It's like 100, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, your cup gets filled tenfold when you give just as much as you receive and when you create space. And something from my perspective, being a part of a community, I'm more of the kind of person in a community who's a little bit quiet in the shadows and I just kind of like watch and observe. But there is a level of vulnerability that comes from being in a community, whether it's online or whether it's in person. And it's the willingness to be able to step out in front and say, I want to be seen for this, or I want to connect on this, or I'm willing to risk my fears in order to find connection. Do you find that that is a big block for people when it comes to community, is the vulnerability piece, or do you find that most people actually really want it and they're not thinking of that?
Yes. Just looking at the ways people are behaving within guided, I'm noticing it's vulnerability and visibility. People desperately want to be seen and heard, but as women, especially, we overthink the way that we're going to be perceived, or all the thoughts and the doubts come up too. Especially, again, you're putting yourself in front of all of these other women who maybe you're seeing as like, wow, they're inspiring and building things, and who am I to be here? And so I've seen that that can be a block for people to initially open up. But once you do, and then people are there supporting you, it like unlocks something for people. And I think that's why community is important as well. It's almost like when you have these small containers, you know, imagine going on, you know, a retreat with 5 women and they're strangers, but you're allowed to show up fully as who you are. They don't know you. You get to step into what you know you're meant to do. That then unlocks something for you outside of that circle. And so I think that's why these communities are so important for you. If it's around FCT and ancestral healing, healing the self love, all the things that you are so good at sharing, right? For people to come into a space like yours and then find healing there and find themselves being seen for what they're going through, that then unlocks something for them to have that conversation outside of that space or share it in a bigger way on their social. And so really the healing and the transformation happens in these safe communities. And that's why people aren't finding that on social, because it's out there for the world to see.
Yeah.
And all you're getting is a like or a unintentional comment of like, love that, but that's not it. And so that's why there's a need for it right now. And I don't think people realize that until they get themselves into the room and they experience it.
Well, also, we may have this perception that we're separate from others and that can protect us from something. But really, community is belonging, as you mentioned. And there's so much beauty in that that we don't get to experience enough, which makes me want to ask you, what do you think is the biggest myth that people have when it comes to building communities? I feel like, okay, me included, this is really vulnerable for me to share, but me included, I want to build a community, But my myth that I'm holding on to is that people won't want to join a community just to talk about their family because people either have two reactions to what I do. They either are like, I don't want to talk about that at all. I hate talking about my family. Or people are like, I really need that. Like, I'm actually like afraid to admit how much I think I need that. So my biggest myth or fear is that if I start an intimate community around family stuff, that people are going to be like, why the hell would I go on that community and talk about family stuff? That seems so dumb. You know what I mean? Like, so what is that a big myth you think people have? Or like, what are people challenged with?
Yeah, I think it comes back to what did you need 2 years ago? What was the space,
Mm.
the container that you didn't have? And so when you look at it from that lens and you build from that perspective, you're going to fill the room. If you're building from just a common interest, so I love FCT. Well, people might not know what that is or know that they need to be in a room about that.
Yeah.
But for you, maybe it was, gosh, I didn't have anyone to talk to about the conversations that I was needing to have with my family or the pain that I was experiencing with the relationship with my mom. Like, I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't want to talk to a therapist. I needed like actual friends and support who got what I was going through. And like, what would that have looked like for you? Would you want it to be in person or online? Would you wanted to have like a little chat? Would you want to have like monthly group calls, and then looking at it from that lens, because you are your greatest testimony. You're your number one customer too. And that's where all the answers are, truly. And so I think when people are just like, oh, like, we just want to talk about money or whatever it is. Yeah, I'm sure there's people who want that, but it's like, it has to be more like intentional than that.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Because if I think about myself 2 years ago, I would have just wanted a place where I can be like, yo, I just did this family constellation around this thing and it was heavy as fuck. And like, has anyone ever done an FCT around this or worked on this before? Like, what did you learn? Like, I know when I was going through a lot of my autoimmune issues in the last year and a half, I really craved other people who were just waking up one day and feeling on top of the world, like they never had an autoimmune disease. And then the next day you wake up and you're like crawling on the floor, like, oh my God, how do I function today? Like, I don't, just the inconsistency of it. So I think that's such a special way. I mean, I can think of a few people besides you off the top of my head who have powerful communities, and yet sometimes it's lacking that like depth. You don't lack that depth. I said, like, meant like people like you have communities, but some people it's just like it's lacking that, like, what are these people going to this community for? Like, what are they like reaching for? How is it meeting them deeper than just here's a community of people? So I really love that.
Your community could be around autoimmune, right? But then the topics could be intertwined with how FCT has then supported that, right? And it's like, I think it's going back to the actual root of why you want to build something. And it's not the solution necessarily. It's like, what is the thing that people are all wanting to have conversation? Like, yeah, that's the question. What could you talk about for hours and hours and hours?
Yeah.
Yeah. Build a space for that. That's what mine were all built around. So, yeah.
No, I love it. It's so simple and yet powerful. Simple in the sense that like we tend to overcomplicate marketing strategies, but really at the end of the day, like simplicity is, I think, what a lot of people are needing to connect with now in our world. And that is a really beautiful way to kind of simplify what certain industries try to make complicated and be like, oh, well, pay us $1 million and we'll decline. It's like, what do people want? I really, when I worked in the wine industry, my family had the winery. My uncle was, one of the CEOs, but he was really the marketing genius. He would come up with all these ideas. And he was really good about connecting. Our marketing strategy was not wine. It was the lifestyle around wine and getting people to connect with the lifestyle of what happens when you open a bottle. And like our whole marketing was around like fun, like wine was fun and wine was love and wine was all of these different things. And so much of our marketing wasn't just the bottle. It was always a bottle with something so magical that you wanted to be in the photo with it. And I mean, clearly it worked. We sold the business and it worked. So like, but it reminds me very much of that, of meeting people where they are and what they're seeking. When you build community, have you ever noticed that there have been people that have been attracted to your community but were not in alignment with it? And how did you know that? And what did it teach you? And how do you handle that?
Ooh, I'll give an example that's coming to mind. Um, yeah, when I first started Guided, inside of that space, there's opportunities to share your services or what you're working on. And there's like boards where you can do that. And that's beautiful. That's an opportunity for people. It's free. And I had someone come in right off the bat. They didn't intro themselves. They didn't engage. They didn't update their bio. They just went straight into selling something in one of those boards. And I was like, this is exactly what I don't want to happen in this space. And it's like no shame or anything to them because they saw it as an opportunity to sell. And I think people, it's their natural inclination. But, those types of things, it just teaches you how to then kind of like set boundaries and safeguard the community. Mm-hmm. And it also shows you like for every one of those, there's like 100 women who are not doing that and who are taking their time to be intentional with what they're sharing and want to be a part of it. So it's okay. But yeah, from that point forward, I then set boundaries where like you have to have a profile photo and you have to have a bio before you can even have access to those boards. You have to intro yourself. And so for me, it's like always learning, always learning what's happening in the space and then using it to evolve the community. I think too, that's something, if you want to start a community, you really have to be adaptable and in flow of what people want, what they need. If something's not working, take it out. If something is, like lean into that further. It's like you're the captain steering the ship. And so it's, yeah, my responsibility to like hold the container, create it, and protect it. So I'm very protective. I like pray over it every single day that the people who are not meant to be in it, that's okay. They can leave or they will just not be attracted to it. And the people who are will come forward. And so that's part of, I guess, any community in person, online. It's like also realizing you're the container holder and how can you set those guidelines or put things in place to just at least protect what's happening within it. So that was an experience where I was like, we're going to change things real quick because that's not happening again. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like you said earlier, you're the container holder and you're the integrity and you're the mirror for how the community unfolds. And I just think that, yeah, I really like wish we could like amplify this message that you're sharing about community to like millions of people because I just think so many people, yeah, I mean, the thing you brought up about the followers on Instagram rather than being shoulder to shoulder with people, I mean, we are just, it really did like scream at me like, whoa, like this is the impact social media is having that I didn't ever think about. I'm kind of just looking at the surface level of like, okay, people post like their 2-second highlight reel and like that's it. I'm curious, what platforms do you think are going to start getting a lot more love? What are your like kind of intuitive projections of where people are going to disperse themselves?
In terms of social media, I have been getting YouTube and Substack as focuses for people. And it's not necessarily for everyone, but I think the people who are going to be listening to this podcast, the people who are impact driven, you're building something that is heart led, or you want to be a part of something that is heart led, the innovators, the creatives, they're going to be moving to Substack. Substack is a place where you can't just throw out regurgitated content. Like there's a lot of writers there. There's people who have things to say, stories to share, knowledge, wisdom to drop. And so already when you're in that space, you can feel it. And the way that people interact with you, you can feel the difference. It's beautiful. And then I do see YouTube as being a space for people as well, especially there's a need again for more intentional content, longer format. And I think YouTube has longevity, whereas these other platforms, people are burning out because you put one thing out and the next second you got to create something new. And it's not even landing for people anymore. I mean, I haven't been on Instagram in 6 months and I went on it the other day and I'm like, everyone's still posting the same thing. Like, are we really doing the same thing
Yeah.
still?
Yeah.
There's no innovation. It's all recycled. And so people are going to move to these platforms where you have to actually have your own message. You have to put more thought and intention to it. We're swinging back into that place. And then outside of social, I think more people are going to be doing WhatsApp or Telegram. And then there's bigger platforms like Circle, Heartbeat. I think we'll see more platforms get built because there's a need for it. And people are going into in person, you know? Yeah.
What do you think of apps? Like if people created an
Apps.
app, like if they created
Yeah.
their own app for something like a community or
Absolutely. I mean, people are already have been doing that. And I think if you are thinking of starting something, if you have the resources and the bandwidth and, the backing to start an app, amazing, go for it. But I actually recommend starting so small, starting free, and you're going to see you don't need all the bells and whistles to get something going. People actually don't even want that. You think you need it, but they just want to have a conversation. They just want to be in a room. And so I think the people that start building community now by next year will be set up for what's going to happen because social is going to decline and increase and increase. And when people start exiting for whatever reason, you're going to already be in a space. You're already going to be there. And so that's why I'm encouraging people like start bringing your people off those apps now, not to scare people, but it's just preparation, to have, it's like the same thing of wanting to have an email list. You own those emails, you don't own your followers, and we don't want to own our followers by any means, but we want to be able to know that we can have that space that's going to be there no matter what happens with an app or a platform.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's been a really big conversation I've been having with myself lately in terms of where to go with certain online communities because around the time that this episode comes out, I'm launching a 4-month release of meditations on Insight Timer. And it's going to be 10 a month, and 10 new ones drop on the 25th of every month from May until August. And I've got my podcast producer working on all the audio, and I've got a lot of expansion, like, the activations app by Mimi Bouchard was like a really expansive app that I use every single day. And I was like, man, it'd be so cool to have something like that. But I don't have the bandwidth for building an app right now. And so my business coach and I were like, maybe we should just do Insight Timer. And I learned that Insight Timer has 31 million users. It's the number one used meditation app in the world. And there's only about 1,000 teachers on the app. So your reachability to these people is incredible. There's lives, you can do courses, you can do challenges, you can do reviews, you can have online conversations. And so just having this conversation with you is kind of giving me a little pep in my step of like, okay, all of the work that you've been putting in the last few months to build all the planning for this, there could be something really juicy here where you're going to get those people who really go to the app for something specific. They need support with something. They're going to have a community to do that. It also makes me want to have my social media manager completely get off Instagram, but we're just going to ride the wave for a little bit longer and see what happens. I've got big plans for her outside of Instagram anyways, and we're just kind of creeping up on it. But it's such a real conversation. And I think you and I talked about this the last time you came on the podcast. We were both sensing that something was feeling so off with Instagram, especially because it was right before the US election and it was just like turmoil after turmoil after turmoil. And I do think it's going to be a huge perspective or reality shift for people who are so used to plugging and chugging on Instagram, what it's going to do for them when they come off of that like robotic or zombie like routine and then actually have to get real and be like, what do I have to offer the world? Is it unique? Where is my life journey supposed to shift? Where I've been holding myself back and not being able to really get deeper with myself and bring that forward to other people. So I'm just really curious to look back on this conversation in like 2 to 5 years and be like, whoa, like, well, some people stepped up and like met the moment, and some people realized that their life path was meant to go in a different way.
It's going to be so cool to see. It's going to be amazing to see what we built, what we stepped into, because it's not an overnight thing. And I think that's what holds people back is the familiarity of being on that Instagram cycle, reels, whatever it is, content creation. It's like, well, this is what I know. This is what I've been doing. This is what other people are doing. But are you going to listen to the call that you have and step out now before you know it's going to work? Those are the people that are successful, the innovators, the leaders. You truly have to step into being the leader of your own life, your own creation. So whoever's listening, I'm like, it's go time. I can feel it for you.
It's
Listen
so,
to it.
yeah, it really is. And I think it's, you know, and I shared this earlier, but it's vulnerable, right? Because as a business owner, it works, the ads, spending on the ads, and like it works on Meta, it works on Instagram. Like I've added 800 people to my email newsletter letter in a month. Like that's insane just from ads, right? And so there's such benefit in it. And yet also there's the other side of it that I hate, where it's just like that plug and chug, you know, but you're just kind of like figuring out if you can play the game or not. And I think that's genuinely what I'm trying to do. Like, do I keep playing the game of Instagram and just kind of like curate, or rather nurture, the community that I currently have on there and like keep putting out the content that feels really good and relevant, and it'll meet the people it's meant to meet, you know, like, that's why I hired a social media manager, because I was like, she can do the plugging and chugging and I'll do kind of the creative stuff in the background to keep everything going. So it's so interesting. It's such an interesting place to be. I'm just like, man, like so many big decisions.
So many big decisions. And also, yeah, always trusting your own guidance. You know, God is going to put you in certain rooms, certain platforms for a reason. It's not going to look like the person next to you, and that's on purpose. You're meant to reach certain people. And I think that's why I'm always go to God first when I feel like, especially with a message like this, like, okay, reveal to me what room I'm supposed to be in or what platform I'm supposed to focus on, and clear the rest, clear the distractions, because I don't want to waste time on who I'm meant to serve.
That is a freaking moment right there. Asking God for what rooms do I need to be in that serve my highest and best good and the highest and best good of others too. And also be careful what you ask God for, because sometimes when you ask God for certain things, then the plates start to shift. The earthquake happens.
Yeah, the doors will get closed real quick, real quick.
I'm so inspired by everything that we've talked about. It's just so expansive, and it feels, the reason I really love our friendship is that I can just be so vulnerable and like real about what's going on. And there's no like judgment, and there's no like, this is what you should do. Like, you know, it's just this like, we're in it, you know, we're just two business owners in it and figuring it out every day. And we share this common love for God and trusting our souls and what we're here to do, and letting that really drive us forward. And I just really appreciate and love that about you.
Thank you. I mean, the feeling is mutual, you know. I'm so glad we've been brought together, and it's crazy that we haven't met in person. Like, what? It just doesn't even make sense. That doesn't feel real. But yeah, I'm so grateful for the way that you know, your podcast in itself is a community, in the way that you, even in your interviews, you hold space and you create a container where people, like, I feel safe to share and open up, and it doesn't feel like awkward or uncomfortable. It's just like, no, we're just having a conversation. So know that you're like already doing it. You have a natural gift for it. So I'm so grateful for that.
Thanks. I think a long time ago, I just realized that everybody is messy and everyone has shit they're working on, and people who pretend that they don't are really good at hiding stuff. Like they got some secrets, because I'm okay with being a mess. I'm okay with figuring it out. I'm okay with not having it all together. And I think, yeah, the podcast has been a great space where people have said, thanks for being so open about what you're going through, because no one talks about this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, nope, no freaking problem. Have fun with everything we talk about. So with Guided, please share, what are the like big things that people can look forward to? Because right now it's a free community. so people can sign up? And what do they have to look forward to on Guided? What are the group communal things that you're doing? I know that you have like, I saw a co-working session. And so there's like, and what are the plans maybe that you feel comfortable sharing with us that's coming too?
Yeah, so it's been so amazing because I launched the community before it was fully done, and I wanted to do that intentionally to get feedback, to get people in and truly build it together. And so right now, yeah, when you join, the free access that you get is you get to be a part of the global network. So essentially, it's a directory of women all around the world who have these callings, these visions, these ideas that they want to build. You can come on and have your own profile, and that will live in our directory, and people are able to, find the people they want to work with, collaborate with. And so that's really special. And then on top of that, yeah, we're hosting live creative networking, I like to call them, events where we're in a room online together. You're getting matched up with different women. And we have these like really beautiful guided prompts. So helping you share about what you're working on or ask those deeper questions, get real with each other about the struggles of building your own thing. And the goal is always divine connection. So people are coming into these spaces, into these rooms and finding people to go on podcasts with. They're hiring people as assistants. They're finding mentors. They're meeting up in person. So many different things happening behind the scenes. And so we have live networking. Co-working is coming soon, and that's been so fun. As creatives, we get really distracted. We don't know where to put our attention. So these sessions are meant for you to dial it in, focus, be in the live energy, but actually build the thing you're meant to. And then there's spaces for you to share, almost like a marketplace ads where you can share, hey, I have a retreat coming up. These are the details. And then we do the marketing for you. So it'll go out in our weekly newsletter. I'll tag people who I think would be interested. People are calling me a business matchmaker right now because I just know, like you said, I just know who people are meant to be connected with. So even like the moment that you intro yourself in the space, I go in and very intentionally connect you with 3 to 4 women in the space that you can then set up. People are setting up little Zoom chats, coffee dates, and just like finding so much clarity and inspiration from that time. So that's what you have access to for free, which is amazing. And then we're launching a membership where it's going to be more of an active people who know they're meant to build a project. You're in the creation of it, but you want more support. It's going to be accountability, weekly co-working. We're going to have mentorship calls, all the things. And then outside of that, big vision, which I'm so pumped about, is we are going to be meeting up around the world. And we're going to be doing these like pop-up guided houses where you can co-live, co-create. If you want to go to Portugal for 2 weeks, but you don't want to go alone, get to drop into the guided house and get to be with like-minded women, explore together. So that's all coming very soon as well. In-person experiences.
You got to send some people to Boulder once I actually freaking get there.
Yes, absolutely. Or you can host something. We'll figure
I
it out.
Yeah, I mean, anything that you do, I'm like, yep, whatever Jennifer's doing, that's legit. It really is so magical. I just left the Podmatch podcast networking online space, and I was on there for 6 months, and it was great. There was a lot of pros and cons, but it was just time for me to end it. And one of the things that they do on there is they have this kind of like Tinder-esque matching situation. So it says like matches at the top, and it's like, here's people that you would match with based off of like your interests on your podcast. And you do like pass or message later. I don't know, for some reason that was like coming up, and I was like, that could be so cool. And then you called yourself the business matchmaker, and I was like, huh, seems so interesting, like the concept of it. But I know that it really, for someone like me who's so busy with life in general, with just life in general, I could go on and on about the list. The efficiency is such a luxury for me personally when things are so easy like that. But I'm so excited to pop on Guided a little bit more because I'm looking for, now that I'm off Podmatch, I'm looking for more aligned guests to come on the podcast. So if you know anybody, or I'm planning on popping into Guided too and just asking for some people who are both spiritual and psychologically attuned. So not like too high on the spiritual spectrum, but also like not so in the psychological either, somewhere like in between, like me, like you too. So yeah, I'm excited because I just know your community and then my business coaches community, that those two are I'm a part of, and I'm like, okay, I can't wait to tap into when it's like really aligned community and like really niche and like a community of women and men who are doing this work in a really cool way. So I'm excited.
Fun. I already know. I'm like, I already know who I can connect you with. I love it. I love
Okay,
it.
well, I love you. Thank you so much. What do you want to leave the community with? What is like a message around really anything we've talked about today that you're feeling passionate about?
Gosh, the message that's coming through right now is to work with what you have. And that could be in any capacity of just starting now. I think when we have these desires and callings to either create community or step into something or heal, it's just work with what's right in front of you. You don't need more. The story that you need to be perfect or you need to have the money or all the things that you're telling yourself, it's actually hindering you from stepping into the calling that God has for you. And you're not waiting on God. God's actually waiting on you to just go and move. And so that is the message. Didn't expect that to be it, but that's what is coming through for whoever's listening.
It's powerful. You just have to start. You just have to put one foot in front of the other. And I'll tell you, being on Podmatch, I got to see a lot of different types of podcasts. And there were some people out there who had not great setups, not great audio, not great marketing, and they were getting thousands of downloads a day because what they were talking
Right.
about was so powerful, you know? So it just, I don't know why I'm on the whole Podmatch thing all of a sudden, but it's such a testament to some people don't have it all together logistically, but they just do it. And there's so much, you get so much momentum when you just start taking those steps too. So I love that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, always,
I love
anytime.
our conversation.
Me too. Anytime you want to come on and talk about whatever you want, you're always welcome to come.
Thank you.
How are people going to find you?
Oh, I'm on YouTube. I'm pretty active there. So we can link that below. I share on community. I share on stepping into your calling and purpose. And then I often share some like prophetic messages about what's to come too. So find me there or find me in Guided. That's where I'm just hanging out all the time in there. So yeah.
Got some stuff to say, guys. So it's not an empty follow for sure. You got to go listen to what she's saying. She's ahead of the curve, a trendsetter. Absolutely. Yeah, in your visions. All right, guys, if you liked what you heard this week, don't forget to rate, subscribe, and review the podcast and share it with someone who's also building a community or in a community that you're a part of so that they can hear the wisdom that Jennifer has to share with all of us today. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next week.